Welcome to This Justin, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Welcome back to This Justin Radio Show, broadcasting live from HIMSS26 in sunny Las Vegas. Very excited to introduce my next guest and great friend of the show, Philip Rost, Chief Marketing Officer from GE HealthCare. Welcome back to the show, my good friend.
Thanks, Justin. Nice to be here again.
That's awesome. So when did you get in town? I know you had a couple of conferences over here, correct?
I've been in Vienna for the European Congress of Radiology, and then I came here on Sunday, actually.
Okay.
Basically from the not so warm region to the warmer one. Yeah.
Right. Well, so you're getting acclimated pretty quickly then. That's impressive to fly from Europe over here, and that's pretty good.
I mean, the jet lag hits us when we go back basically.
Right.
Yeah. Coming here is easier. We win a day.
Yep.
Going back likely on Friday will hit me. Yeah.
Gotcha. So before we dive into the questions, I assume it's been you've only been here like 36 hours or a little bit more, but tell me about what you've been able to achieve and some fun you're having.
I mean, the good thing I like in these kind of conferences to go, what we call go to Gemba, talk to customers, right?
Absolutely.
We just had one of our largest customers from Korea visiting us. We had already good conversations with a lot of US-based customers. I mean, that's what I take out of these shows, to really understand the pulse of our customers.
Absolutely. So diving in, first question, what must our healthcare leaders or healthcare leaders in general get right now that's occurring in healthcare?
Directly the $1 million question up front.
Exactly. Boom.
I mean, Justin, I believe that this problem that we have to solve is to break down these data silos within healthcare systems.
Yes.
Right? If you see right now the average hospital has more than 16 systems. There's one for radiology. There's one for cardiology. Another one for pathology. On top of that, you have the electronic medical record. I mean, the data cannot flow, right? And if we want to leverage at the end the data to inform artificial intelligence to help us, this is the most challenging part we have to change. It's an evergreen. We talk about this since years, but I still think it's the first thing that we should get right.
Yep. Absolutely true. And one of my previous guests was Marianne Yeager from Sequoia Project, which she works on unleashing interoperability, creating standards here. Oh, it's also globally, but certainly here in the U.S. But really important that we do get this interoperability. We break down these silos. And also, all this progress with AI cannot be enabled if we don't have access to data and good data and data sharing.
And
trust.
I mean, if the data is not flowing, basically AI will not be able to unfolds the full potential.
Exactly. So take a second. What are some of the highlights? Do you guys have any, and we didn't talk about this off air, and I did not send you this question, but what is GE HealthCare, what are some of the big announcements, or what's the biggest announcement they're going to do here at HIMSS26 that you're excited about?
I mean, we just released on Monday our press release for our Genesis View. That's our new part of our radiology workspace. Basically, it's cloud first.
Okay.
It is zero footprint, and it's part of a basically solution that helps you to first bring efficiency, and secondly help you to make more qualitatively informed diagnosis.
Excellent. Love it.
And just on Monday, we announced that if you want to see the press release, it came out on Monday, basically.
Perfect. Thank you, Simon. So what measurable impact are you seeing in healthcare, and kind of beyond pilots, but at scale? What kind of ROI that you're seeing, tangible ROI out there for digital health or AI?
I mean, look, I think we are shifting away from the discussion where we said, hey, what is the AI doing, towards exactly this kind of impact it can deliver. I mean, you hear this more and more. And let's take imaging as an example. If you take our radiology workspace, it starts off with basically a tool that helps you to say, hey, Justin is the experienced radiologist, give him the difficult head scan. Simon is a newbie, he should look at the fracture. So it's assigning basically the exam based on the qualities of the radiologist, right? Then we have AI built into the process where we automatically could measure lesions, where we basically embed the algorithm into the reading experience. And we also have the AI at the end in the reporting, helping to automate certain parts. We see basically improvements of double-digit percentages if you see it throughout the workflow, basically, in productivity.
Absolutely. I love it. Before I go to my next question, you post a lot of great best practices around AI globally. Why don't we take a minute, so we have time, what what are some of the best practices that you would share with my audience around how to successfully deploy AI, even at scale? I mean, obviously we have best practices on when to start it and where to kind of pick a pilot. But if you were with some ideas that you just mentioned at scale and how to do it right.
I mean, look, for me, the governance model, not very sexy, but it's a very important one. A very important one you have to align with. First, you have to choose the right partner.
Right.
And these are not like point partnerships. These are long-term partnerships normally. That's the first session. Then, secondly, you have to align on joint KPIs, on joint key performance indicators that you want to measure and you want to live up to. You have to choose also the right business model behind that. And then something that I see more and more important that is not really talked about too much is to increase the amount of digital literacy within the workforce of the healthcare professionals. I mean, in the large institutions, they have the capabilities, but if we take the average hospitals, sometimes you need to build those. And the, let's say the digital literacy, AI literacy is a big one that we many times don't speak about. So the companies that invest at the end in their employees, into education, into skills, likely will be the one that drive adoption faster than others.
Very academic, because you're the first person to bring that up on air. But I was in Stanford last year, and part of my classes was about digital literacy. It was very important. They're talking about it from an academic standpoint, but advice to us as entrepreneurs and how to enable our organizations to scale in a digital world empowered by AI. So, yeah.
I would even add that there has never been a time better to upskill yourself like right now. If you take the generative AI algorithms, they help you to consume information way faster, right? And by the way, a lot of the offers out there are for free in terms of costs, right? Even there's a program called Hello AI that is backed up by us, for example, where we work with different entities, and you can join that for free to understand how AI is used in healthcare, what are the use cases, what are the adoption metrics you should put on top, how can you upskill yourself, right? And that's something it's very exciting at this point in time.
I love it. Great advice, Simon. Fantastic. So next question, how do we keep healthcare human in an AI world?
If you ask me, AI will help us to be more human in healthcare. I'm a firm believer of that, right?
Agreed.
Because AI can take like the busy work out of the process and help healthcare professionals to focus on the things that they do best, right? Which is trust, empathy, diagnosis, right? But there is, you mentioned this before, there is a caveat that you have to implement it well, right? And there are various things to that. One is you have to not disrupt the way of working, right? You have to not think point solution, but end-to-end process. So that's one of the biggest things that need to happen, I believe, is that we should think less in departmental IT, more in basically enterprise-wide solutions, platforms, so to say, that cover the entire patient journey. So think less department, think more basically patient journey in this kind of efforts.
Yes. So let's take a second, because you also brought up governance. It's not sexy, but I actually talk about governance a lot. Actually, just wrote some white papers on it because it's so critically important to organizations. Certainly, as you scale, you want to scale with AI, and you have agents and a lot going on. And you know, governance is a very big term. Take 30 seconds to talk about, offer maybe a best practice or your thoughts and feelings on how people can get governance right.
Yeah, that's also not the easiest one, but I think it starts already in the product development process. Basically, you have to get the user's feedback into the process early on, right? And we do this, for example, through a medical advisory board, where we say, hey, before we launch products to the market, it has to go through the hands and eyes of these individuals to basically be released. I think it's to assign the right stakeholders.
Yep. Excellent.
Second point, which I think is very important, I mentioned this before, you have to think what is our joint metrics we aim for.
Yes.
And this has to be a feasible one.
Yes.
And that's one that is achievable.
Yep.
Right? We normally, in our case, distinguish between leading and lagging indicators, some that help you towards the process and one that is backward looking. And then I also believe that this kind of trust is built by keeping your say-do ratio high.
Excellent.
So a boss of mine once said, trust is built by doing small commitments and then fulfilling them, right?
Yeah.
And that's also a big one here. And it has to be a very structured approach. Again, it needs to be something that is kind of a rigorous process that you implement. These are the four things I would mention there.
No, excellent. Great advice. So in closing, what must we get right in the next 3 years in healthcare?
Okay. I mean, that's a first one I mentioned was my first point, interoperability.
Yep.
We still have too many disparate systems that don't talk to each other. This has to be a main focus. So basically, interoperability needs to be the innovation of this decade. The second one you mentioned, trust. An AI algorithm was a digital tool only uses if the person who's using it understands how it comes together, what kind of data it uses, and how it takes certain kind of decisions. The third one is workflow integration. I truly believe if you have a process that is not working and you put on top of that AI, it will not be better, it will likely get even worse, right? So there it's very important to integrate the AI seamlessly into the process. In best case, you don't even notice that it's working. And the last one is, again, digital literacy. I believe if people know how to use technology, like AI, like digital tools, if they know the pros, the cons, and the risks, adoption will be way easier. I mean, these are the four things. Connected data, trust, workflow integration, digital capabilities. These are the four ones I would mention that we have to get right in the next 3 years.
Absolutely true. I love it. Great advice there. Great facts there too. So looking out over the rest of the year, what other conferences are you looking at? This is obviously one of the bigger ones on our radar screen. But what else do you look for, or you're going to attend later on this year globally?
I mean, globally, we have SIM coming up. That's one for us. That's very important. Then in Europe, where I'm based, we have HIMSS Europe as well. We have also Health Europe, which are two ones that's interesting. And then for us, all of the deep clinical expertise conferences like RSNA at the end of the year, also a big show. ECR just happened. These are the ones that we are going towards. And then we also try to look more about the tech conferences as well, right? For example, our CEO of our business unit, he speaks at NVIDIA in a couple of months. These are also interesting ones to look at.
Yeah, excellent. So in closing, what's, I guess, one thing that you guys, your goals for GE Healthcare, your goals for HIMSS26, what would you say the number one goal? Obviously, there's engaging our customers, engaging, prospects, sharing innovation, sharing what we're doing, encouraging. What would you say your overall goal is? I know it's a tougher question. But.
I mean, there are various ones. As I run marketing, I also have a clear lead target that I want our sales reps to achieve. So that's one. Yeah. Then also for our own employees to come together and
how many people do you guys have here?
We have roughly, I would say, 45 to 50 people all over here. Yeah. That's the second one. And then for me, the most important one is listening to customers, learning from them, basically. And the side, let's say, if I find time to see some of the sessions, that's also appreciated. But for now, I didn't do that. These are the three things I think are important.
Yeah. Excellent. Simon Philip Rost, thank you for joining me, my good friend, as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
You got it. Have a great rest of your show. Welcome back to This Justin Radio Show, broadcasting live from HIMSS26 in sunny Las Vegas. I'm very excited to introduce my next guest, a new friend of the show, Charles Barkey, Vice President of Information Technologies, WVU Medicine Hospitals. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much, Justin. I'm excited to be here to have a conversation about healthcare today.
You got it, and I love it. So you've been around this conference for how many years now? You've been coming to the annual conference?
15 years now.
Yeah, impressive.
Yeah, it's been an awesome 15 years of meeting great people like yourself year in, year out, getting to see how things are moving.
You got it. So you're a new voice to the show. So where'd you grow up? Background a little bit.
Sure. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I grew up in Penn Hills, graduated from Penn Hills, went to the University of Pittsburgh, which is sort of comical being that I work for WVU
Absolutely.
Medicine. Spent some time, about 10 years with UPMC, and then went down to WVU Medicine, and we've been doing a lot of exciting things since then. Yep. And I now live at the southern part of the Pennsylvania state in Washington, PA.
Yep. Yeah, when we first were connected last week, and you quickly said, you're friends with Rasu, and from the early days, I had to go back to my notes and say, well, he's a WVU guy, but Rasu is with UPMC. So I'm like, I had to connect the dots back to Pittsburgh because there's a big rivalry between Pitt and WVU. So
yes, there is.
You made me do some research there.
The backyard brawl.
You got it. So I love it. So yeah, if you're at 15 years here, this is kind of a good conference. So what makes you come to HIMSS annual conference every year?
Honestly, I like to get in touch with what the technologies are and then getting a good opportunity of seeing what the next 2 years are bringing. Because a lot of things that these conferences show are what's coming down the road that you could start planning for. And then also understanding the new vendors getting into the market that you may not have necessarily seen. And as we all know, with AI, everything's blooming.
Yeah.
In which, to me, it's another application. It just has additional functionality.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's what these conferences are here for.
Excellent. Great perspective. So, to the question, what bold move must healthcare leaders make today to best position their organizations?
So I think single-handedly, and it's probably an older answer, but it's the digital front door. Generations of the people who were less technical continue that, you know, they're moving away from this further and further and not as involved. And there's not even many 50-year-olds now who haven't had a smartphone in their hand and want to handle their own scheduling, handle seeing their own records, handle seeing their own tests, checking WebMD online and seeing if they're healthy or not.
Right.
And that patient portal. So I believe that that's probably the single most strategy at this point for us.
That's excellent. Yeah, we were talked a little bit about that yesterday, digital literacy, and how important it is. The fact that we have it, but also continue to educate internally to organizations to make sure that we're educating ourselves, our teams, on AI, digital health in general. But you're talking about, you know, literacy overall in the industry. I completely agree with that. Fantastic. Thinking about what's happening today, what are, at scale, some of the best practices that you've seen around AI and tangible differences around digital health or AI as we scale past like pilots and into, full deployments? What are you seeing out there?
So, honestly, the pilots are just enough to see where you're scratching the surface of what you're potentially interested in.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of people are building their pilots around what they've already been doing instead of taking the smart approach of, if you're looking to replace what you're doing, why don't you rip it apart completely, build a new requirement.
That's good.
And then deliver on those new exciting requirements and then see if you have a real gain. And so every AI project that I'm involved with at this point, I don't want to hear about what we did before. Otherwise, why am I replacing the product?
Brilliant.
I want to know how we're going to do this, deconstruct it, get the requirements. What are we trying to get to? What have other health systems done to be successful? And then go that direction.
Right. No, that's the best. So as you started to say that, back in my head, that's an AI best practice because people are now just trying to layer AI over a broken workflow, and all you can do is break it faster.
Yep.
So, and break it more, even broader and more efficiently crack the system. So that's a brilliant strategy. And I'm glad you brought it up because, it's really rethinking using this time and opportunity to take a holistic approach, start from scratch. Don't just layer on, AI over it. So in that world, and I know you have a unique perspective here, how do we keep healthcare human in an AI world?
So my thought process, and I'm sure the CFOs may not like this comment, but this is my viewpoint. If we can take AI and make the workflows more efficient so that we're not focusing as much in needing 100 people doing registration, and maybe we can use 50 people doing registration or 25 people doing registration, and then all of the other different types of roles that AI could cover for operational efficiencies. Take those funds, bring in more nurses, make sure that you can get from 7-to-1 nursing situations down to 4-to-1 or 3-to-1. Getting additional lab techs, farm techs, getting additional pharmacists. Take those funds and actually put it back where it's become human again. The doctors that I have worked with over 20 years, they want to spend the time with the patient.
So true.
They don't have the time to be able to spend it. Yeah. Let's give it back and make that relationship whole again.
Brilliant. Yeah, no wonder why your name was thrown into the hat for this show. You're spot on. I love where you're going with this. So let's dive into your organization a little bit. Is there a deployment or two that you've deployed AI where you said, hey, we did really well here? Is there something that you've been able to reconstruct or start from scratch or build out from a care model or a financial model or an administrative model that AI has really done wonders for your organization?
So one of the more recent ones that we're seeing a lot of success with is around, it's an older technology, but a new approach to it. But it's AI for large vessel occlusion strokes.
Okay.
Or there's additional types of strokes also. But it's getting the patient quicker to TKA in a couple minutes versus that 20 to 30 minute. that the old adage is that every minute is brain matter.
Right.
And the difference between a positive outcome could be, that 5-minute period.
Right.
So that we're doing that and being able to assess, okay, this patient can stay at this remote hospital, West Virginia. We have a lot of critical access out in the rural community.
Right.
Or this person needs helicoptered in to the big research academic center in Ruby, Morgantown.
Right.
That's what we're able to do by tying the neurologist and the neuroradiologist, the ED doc, and everyone together. And they're going, get them TKA, and we're seeing positive outcomes from that, which is wonderful across all 25 hospitals.
Yep.
The second one is around that operational efficiency of using AI for electronic prior authorizations.
There you go.
What a great way, because unfortunately, claims get denied. Well, we're now getting into 80% of the denied ones, and we're just resubmitting them with what's needed, and it's being done without having to hire additional staff.
Right.
And taking that mindset that, okay, now we can put it towards operational nurses, lab techs, farm techs, and so on.
Yeah, I had one of the trustees from Ochsner, and in a conversation, I don't know, about a month and a half ago, they saved $40 million by deploying AI in the revenue cycle last year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have multiple bots, and you know what? Our claim to fame on building our bots, because we have our actual own AI department and software development team. And the thing that's so amazing is, well, you know what? Bots don't need a vacation. They just need a once-a-month reboot.
There you go. Yeah.
That's it.
Brilliant.
And so we don't have to worry about sick days or kids being sick or going on vacation. That thing's running, and we've seen millions upon millions in operation gained from that.
That's awesome. So. Love that. Real quickly, tell us about WVU Medicine Hospitals. What's the size? How many hospitals, health systems, clinics? What's your reach and your footprint there?
Sure. So currently we're 25 hospitals across West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Maryland.
Okay.
We are in the process of possibly a 5-hospital acquisition in Pennsylvania. Excellent. And then we are about to close on also a behavioral health medicine hospital for pediatrics and for teens. So we expect to be by 2027, we will own 31 hospitals, and they will come into our system standards by the end of 2027 using our version of Epic, our workflows, our enterprise imaging, every single tool all the way through ERP, so on and so forth. So whether our CEO loves to talk about the McDonald's French fry. Basically, if we have a nurse that says, oh, you know what, I'm going to move from Morgantown out to Parkersburg, they could walk into Parkersburg and start working, and it would just be that same experience.
That's fantastic. I love it. No, it's a great vision, but also that's a pretty phenomenal footprint you guys have.
Yes.
So love that. Last question. What must we get right in the next 3 to 5 years in our industry, in healthcare?
So we have 2 of them. I think to me, I'm going to go back to the AI piece.
Please.
That, the operational piece of not making the mistake of trying to fix something that's broken, not because of the app, but because of the process.
Right.
We need to rethink, and everyone needs to think about that as they go there. AI is not the answer. AI is the tool.
Right.
And so, that's the key one that I think, and then I think everyone still needs to continue thinking about cybersecurity, because it's
Always.
a matter of when, not what.
Yeah, that's
what,
right.
Yeah.
So, good for you.
Or I should say if.
Yeah. No, brilliant answer. Fantastic answer. This has been extremely insightful. I'm actually going to have you back. I broadcast every single year from HIMSS, their annual conference, and this has been a great conversation. Thank you for joining me, taking the time, and we'll absolutely have you back.
Very good. Thank you. I'll join the large crowd from the show that you have.
You got it, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Chuck. Appreciate your time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.